And away we go on a Thursday. Great to have you with us today and every day here in your home for the Big 12. Big 12 today on TuneIn and streaming on Big 12 Studios. You can find where you can, all the platforms you can get us at big12studios.com. Along with James Wesley, I am Ari Temkin on this Thursday. We got a lot to get to today. If you missed our Joey McGuire and or Kenny Dillingham interviews from yesterday, you can hear them on today's show. Plus, the former Texas Tech wide receiver, Jakeem Grant, joins us later on in the show to talk about what Texas Tech is doing right now. What's going on, James? You've got what appears to be a sweatpants polo combination today. That's a look for sure. I mean, I know those are joggers, but they're basically sweatpants. Joggers, they're basically the sweatpants you can work out in. Other than that, you pretty much have polo and joggers sweatpants on today.
Well, they're classy sweatpants. They're the upscale version of sweatpants. Comfort and style.
Comfort and style.
Style. Comfort and style. They check all the boxes.
I don't think they do. I think they just check the box of being comfortable.
Hey, I walked in today and you said, man, it's going to be really hard to make fun of you. You almost look too put together for this show.
Well, it's a great polo. It just needs, like nice pants with it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of room for versatility this time of year. Is it going to be 50 degrees today? Is it going to be 80? Nobody knows. You've got the North Face pullover on, which I'm digging. That quarter zip, it screams outdoorsy, but the pants say, I haven't been outdoors since 2014. We're big fans of AI here. It's like you plugged into ChatGPT. What should I wear today if I'm going to Home Depot and parent-teacher conferences? And this is what it spit out.
Which is both true, actually. We've got availability reports to talk about today. But, James, I got to ask you, have you ever heard of something called Huntington's disease?
Huntington's disease.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have, but no, I haven't.
No, you probably shouldn't have. I mean, most people haven't, and that's probably a good thing. So Huntington's disease affects about 40,000 Americans, but there's another 200,000 Americans that carry the gene that could cause it. And here's the worst part. It's completely fatal. So usually Huntington's disease shows up between the ages of 30 and 50. And if one of your parents has it, then every child that parent has a 50% chance of getting it, okay? So that's the 200,000. So there's currently 200,000 people living here that are probably younger than 30 that may have it. It's basically a 50-50 coin flip. They know their parent carries the gene for it. They could have it. It's 50-50 coin flip. So pretty wild, huh? I mean, imagine living your life knowing that a coin flip is waiting for you by the time you get to 30 or 40.
Yeah, this is, okay, where are we going with this?
So this is where the story gets fascinating, okay? We've talked a lot of the show about some of the wild, crazy advances in technology, robots, AI, the scariness that exists. Well, what's happening right now in medical science is unbelievable to the other degree. Not scary as much as it is incredible and inspiring. So there's a new medical technology that's been developed over the last decade and continues to be developed called CRISPR, okay? So if you think of your genetic material, your genes, like a massive instruction manual, the code that makes you, for centuries, we've known that it's there, right? Like we know that these genetic diseases exist, that you're part of your genetic material, but we've never had ways to fix specific code, right? Because there's so many different strands, so we've never been able to zero in to fix a certain strand that may carry those genetic mutations.
Sure.
There's over 6,000 known genetic diseases. And up until now, none of them have been curable for that reason. And we couldn't cure them because, again, we didn't know where the code was hiding. So that's what CRISPR changes. It's like a find and replace tool, but for your DNA. Scientists can now locate and extract strand of genetic material that's broken, target it, and potentially fix it with CRISPR. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that used to sound like science fiction. And so there's this new clinical trial in the United Kingdom that tested CRISPR on patients with Huntington's disease. And in the group that received the highest dose, their disease progression slowed by about 75% over 3 years, which is insane. Clearly, it's making a difference. Now, it's a small sample. There's about 29 patients that have been involved that have seen that. And there's no placebo group, so it's just being compared to historical data. So, I mean, it's in its infancy, and so is CRISPR, but 5 to 10 years ago, CRISPR was like, oh, we've got this technology. Now we got to figure out how to use it. And now with the advances of medical science technology, we're already seeing the benefits of it to help to cure a disease that to this point has been, deadly, scary, and incurable. It's pretty wild.
Man, this is really cool. I had to have this explained to me like I'm 5, and you did a really good job of breaking it down. Basically, correct me if I'm wrong, this is like an edit button for DNA.
Yes.
Edit button for DNA.
I like to think of it as find and replace.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever used that on Microsoft Word or
Sure.
Excel, but yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So like we knew that these genetic mutations occurred, but we had no idea where within the genetic code it existed, so there's no way to fix it. Incurable. CRISPR helps to identify where those mutations occur and can fix it.
This is amazing. And this is another example of where this growth, this rapid rise in artificial intelligence and technology is a really good thing. We poke fun at AI all the time. It's really easy to do. It's a big topic right now in pop culture and in our society that's easy to make fun of.
Well, and it's frightening. So it's almost like you have to laugh to keep from crying because you know what the inevitability is. Like these robots, to a degree, have taken over, and we're not in control as much as we might think we are.
Sure. But I also think there's a lot of encouraging things, and this is a great example of that. This is something that has never been done before. This is something that is going to save lives, and just AI in general in the medical field. It's cutting down the time it takes to develop therapies for many different things, from years and years and years. Things can be done in months. You see it with a lot of mental health issues as well, with the advancements in what used to be talk therapy. There's so many more things they can do now to essentially cure our brains in a lot of different ways. So I've gone all in. We make fun of AI all the time, and people can make fun of me all day, but I don't want to be left behind like I was with social media, which is kind of how I feel. We came up and social media was taking off when we were in college, and I pushed back against it for so long that now I feel like I'm way behind everybody else in our age demo. And with AI, I don't want to let that happen again.
Well, in medical science, to your point, like it's just as fast as like other technologies are advancing, medical technology is advancing so quickly to the point that's like, it's scary how quickly it's evolving, but also super optimistic. It's like there's literally never been a better time to be alive in all of world and human history.
And there's like AI-driven medical advances for detecting cancer, where AI can detect cancer in scans way earlier than the human eye radiologist can. And these algorithms can catch eye disease, melanoma, lung disease, heart failure risk earlier and more accurately than what we've been used to. So, I think we're going to live in a world where humans and robots and AI, I don't know if you want to call them actual robots, who knows what they'll look like, but these AI assistants, I think we are going to walk this planet together at some point, and I think in our lifetime, definitely our kids' lifetime.
Wow, so you're saying robots and humans will in fact live in harmony?
I think
once
so.
Robots become sentient beings.
Yes.
They won't be taking over.
He is sentient.
Yeah.
But yes.
But here's the rub, I think, with CRISPR, like a lot of these medical technologies, because there's always a downside, right? If we're fixing bad genes, what's to stop medical science from tweaking good genes? Sure, nobody's going to be asking for a full-on James Westling 2.0, but that's basically the start of genetic engineering, where you're having a child and suddenly, well, what if we did this or tweaked that a little bit and did this and that and the other?
Or basically you can build your child in a lab.
Yeah, custom building humanity.
And that's where, the moral compass gets tested, and everybody's going to have different opinions and views on that. Tom Brady just made headlines this week because he cloned his dog. Tom Brady cloned his dog. It's part of a early stages of some giant medical AI company that he's a part of, and they're testing the cloning process, and he cloned his dog. We'll get an update later on how it's going. But that caught my eye this week.
Yeah, that's insane. I don't know which is more scary, genetic engineering or cloning.
And then my wife and I went down a real rabbit hole of what if we clone our dog? because he's getting up there. And then, some things we might tweak in the cloning process.
Right, exactly. Like, well,
he's barking at the mailman every day at 4:30 in the
Can't have
afternoon.
that. That's got to be tweaked. Don't want that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Dogs can really deal with some genetic engineering, like the no shedding, no barking, no being aggressive thing. Like, let's just check all those boxes off.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I just figured we'd at least show you an optimistic side of the AI technological advances, while also, harping on some of the negative pieces of it. But it's insane, and especially with some of these breakthroughs with Huntington's disease, which, again, most people probably haven't heard of. But I hadn't heard of it until, actually, I had a cousin of mine was dating a guy that had Huntington's disease, or had the genetic, had a parent that had it, basically. So he had a 50% chance of getting it. And at that stage of their relationship, and they're like in their 20s. So it's like, okay, we've been dating for 5 years. Imagine this, James. And I have this disease. You may have never heard of it. Basically, within the next 10 to 20 years, I could develop the disease. And if I do, I'm going to be dead by the time I'm 50. And it's going to be a really bad, slow breakdown of my body and neurological capabilities. What would you do if you were dating that person?
I mean, that's a scary thought. That's a really difficult conversation. I mean, you're in a relationship and you're thinking long term.
I want to get married and have kids with this person.
Exactly. You're thinking about building a family and what does that look like for our children and what that would do to them, and not just the impact that it would have on that individual, but also everybody that individual is close to and the whole family tree. I mean, that's a really, really scary thing to think about.
Yeah.
So this, for people like that, is super cool.
Right.
I mean, this is amazing.
Because we think about the disease itself, but we don't even think about, like, let's just say you're part of the 50% that doesn't get it, but you've had relationships like that have fizzled out simply because of the fact that you could get it.
Well, and when do you know that you're part of the 50% that don't get it?
I mean, basically, once you start to turn 30, the symptoms start to develop between 30 and 40.
From 30 to 50, you're just kind of a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
crazy.
It really is.
It's insane.
It is.
And it's just one of 6,000 genetic diseases that over time will hopefully be cured by CRISPR technology. All right, he's James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkins. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo here on Big 12 Radio, on TuneIn, and on Big 12 Studios. Our Big 12 games of the week on Saturday. We've got two for you. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Can the Wildcats cover 20.5 points against Oklahoma State? Still looking for their first Big 12 win in almost 2 full seasons, James. That one is in Stillwater?
Yes.
Yeah. That's at 11 a.m. Central, 12 Eastern time. And that follows Big 12 Game Day on Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. And then later on in the evening, Utah at Baylor. Huge game in the Big 12, 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And we'll get into maybe what is the biggest game of the weekend coming up in about 15 minutes from now.
Well, I was thinking, when I looked at the slate for this weekend, how many teams have games that really for them don't matter a whole lot? Kansas State and Oklahoma State's the headliner. That game means more for Kansas State because they're fighting to make a bowl. But if you're Kansas State, with the way the season is gone, is making a bowl even an accomplishment? Is that anything to celebrate for Kansas State? So my point is, this time of year, with some of these non-marquee matchups, they're still really fun and really exciting for me to watch as a fan. And not just that game in particular, but also like West Virginia and Arizona State. West Virginia's 4-6. They still have a chance to make a bowl. But my point is, you get into the month of mid-November, and sure, the league has separated, and there's teams that can still qualify for a Big 12 championship. But then you get games like K-State, Oklahoma State, where it's like, why wouldn't you just throw everything you have in the playbook just to see what sticks?
Well, and that's where crazy upsets happen this time of year.
Yep.
I mean, that's how, you've got motivations are skewed, especially in this age of the transfer portal. I mean, there's, the potential for guys to check out, but the opposite is true too, where guys become so motivated, and that's obviously not going to be the case for K-State, Oklahoma State, but become super motivated in a way that maybe they weren't to, make their season. Yeah,
you also get guys that maybe haven't had the snaps and the playing time up to that point that are getting on the field that really start to shine. You're late in the season, so you can play a lot of freshmen or transfers, guys that you planned on redshirting. They can still get quality snaps. You can see what you have there, and they can still preserve their redshirt for next season. That mostly applies, again, to freshmen, but it might apply to some other guys. And so sometimes you get these unsung heroes that come out of nowhere that can really springboard them into the next season for their respective teams. So that's kind of what I'm looking at with K-State, Oklahoma State, with West Virginia, with UCF, who's 4-5. Does Baylor show up at home against Utah? And then what type of TCU team do we get at BYU? Is that a TCU team that's just totally defeated and dejected after their loss to Iowa State? Or are they really up for that game and saying, hey, we can spoil somebody's season here on the road at BYU?
All right, we've got a lot to get to, including what the Big Ten's proposed private equity deal means for the Big 12. Plus, of course, we've got plenty of great guests on today's show, including Alexa Haley, the UCF volleyball star, who's named the Defensive Player of the Week, and she's the first freshman to do that in the Big 12 since 2021. So Alexa Haley coming up. On the way next, though, what is the most important game of the weekend? There are a lot of question marks around all these games, but what's the biggest one of the weekend? Is it Arizona-Cincinnati? Is it UCF-Texas Tech? Is it Utah-Baylor? Is it TCU-BYU? We'll get into that next. With James Westling, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today on TuneIn and on Big 12 Studios. Big 12 radio, Big 12 today. Just doesn't have the same groove without music, you know?
No, it doesn't have that same pop.
No. James Wesley, Ari Temkin. This is Big 12 radio presented by Modelo and heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. The Big 12's Matt Enzer is telling us that 10 different Big 12 teams have defeated a top 25 opponent, which is tied for the most among FBS conferences. My question to you, James, is does that happen this weekend? Week 12 in the Big 12. Not any huge bangers, and there aren't ranked teams playing ranked teams like we had last weekend, but there's some probably obvious ones here. Of the games this weekend, and I'll highlight 4 of them: Arizona at Cincinnati,
Okay.
UCF at Texas Tech, Utah at Baylor, TCU at BYU. What's the biggest game of the weekend?
Man, that's a great question. And I think you could make a case for each and every one. Every single game on the board this weekend
Yeah, but I'm asking you to pick one.
and I will, is an elimination game. It's an elimination game for everybody, not just for the college football playoff, for the teams at the top, but just for survival in this league, for bowl positioning, for Big 12 championship positioning, for recruiting, momentum. And that's the beauty of the Big 12 in the month of November. Every single game still matters, even when you don't have a bunch of top 25 against top 25 matchups. But the game that I pick, the game I'm going with, is TCU and BYU. I think that is the biggest game this weekend because of the narrative that is starting to be built around BYU, and that is that they're skating by and beating teams that they should be beating, not as flashy. They're not getting the style points that everybody else that's in a position for an at-large bid in the college football playoff is getting. And so I think the way they win matters, but they just have to win. They just have to win. And TCU's a sneaky team. TCU's a team that has the best passer in this conference in Josh Hoover. That scares me. So that is the game that I'm picking for those reasons. And I know it's at BYU, but we have seen that BYU's been vulnerable at home in the past when Kansas went into Provo and they upset BYU last year. And maybe that game is still just kind of lingering in my brain, but this is the biggest game in my eyes.
See, I agree to a degree, and I mean you could really make the case for any of these 4 games.
Absolutely.
But I think because Cincinnati and BYU play next weekend, that I don't know, it because they're both one-loss teams playing next weekend. So if let's just say both lose, are they in it? I mean, yes, to a degree, but it will basically make it clear whoever wins next weekend is probably the driver's seat, even with 2 losses to get to the Big 12 title game. Mm-hmm. That's why I think Utah at Baylor is the biggest game of the weekend. For teams that need a win, Utah's the only one that's hitting the road. This is also amazingly, the 3rd straight year that Utah and Baylor are playing, and this is the first time it's a Big 12 game, amazingly.
Yeah, they had all those non-conference matchups.
But both teams are coming off of a bye. And last time we saw Baylor, they held UCF to 3 points. And it was a huge anomaly in terms of what we'd seen all year from Baylor defensively. Huge anomaly. I mean, 3 points is a remarkable feat for a team that was hemorrhaging yards and points defensively. So, do I think Baylor will beat Utah? No, but I think it's a road game. I think did Baylor maybe find some things on defense? Maybe. Or did they just hit some luck? The larger sample says, no, Baylor's still bad defensively. But I'm just saying, that's the one that, because Utah has no margin for error. BYU and Cincinnati have a little bit of margin for error. Utah has 2 conference losses. They can't lose again and find themselves in Arlington. We think BYU and Cincinnati are in a similar boat, but they, again, just have the 1 loss. Both should win, BYU and Cincinnati, which sets up the game next weekend, which is a de facto elimination game. But Utah needs the win, and they're the only team that needs a win that's on the road this weekend, which is always tough.
Being on the road definitely magnifies the importance of that game. With BYU and Cincinnati, so if one of those teams got upset this weekend, and yes, they play each other next weekend, but what it does is if one of those 2 teams were to lose Saturday, it opens the door for a Utah or an Arizona State to backdoor their way into the Big 12 championship game, which is why it's paramount that both of those teams win to set up that showdown next Saturday. And I do like the Utah-Baylor game, in addition to BYU and TCU, from a coaching stability standpoint. I mean, is this a game where Dave Aranda can save his job if Baylor were to win? They'd be 4-3 in Big 12 play. They'd be 6-4 overall. This would finally be a top 25 marquee win, which his record against top 25 teams has been really bad since that Big 12 championship season. And then same thing for BYU and TCU. Like, TCU ended last season on a hot streak. They won their last 6 regular season games. They finished 9-4. But this year it's been the total inverse. And if they go 6-4, or 2-6-4 with a loss at BYU, all of a sudden, like, they're below 500 in Big 12 play. And I think that starts to warm the seat of Sonny Dykes. It'd be back-to-back losses. It'd be a loss at home mixed in there. And all of a sudden you're scraping to make a decent bowl game. They're bowl eligible. But what type of bowl game will they be in? But 3 years removed from a national college football playoff appearance and a win and a national championship game appearance in what was Gary Patterson's Players, that was his team. 3 years removed from that, to be below 500 in Big 12 play, I think would pose a lot of questions in Fort Worth.
One of the big things about the BYU-TCU game is Bear Bachmeier, who looked like a freshman last week against Texas Tech. I certainly expect him to bounce back, but here's what BYU coach Kalani Sitake said this week about Bear Bachmeier bouncing back.
Yeah, he's going to respond the right way. I mean, he knows that it wasn't his best outing. It wasn't the best for our entire team. But I know one thing about him. He's willing to work. He has great work ethic, and he's going to be better next time. And so we're looking forward to seeing the improvement, and he's committed to doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the standard for which Bear Bachmeier is at this point being held to is sort of unrealistic.
Yes.
But that's his own doing because of the success he's had. You think about BYU, they've gone 4-1 in this 5-game stretch here. That continues for 2 more games, but they played teams in their last 5 that are combined 28-10. 6-3 Arizona, 7-2 Utah, 6-4 Iowa State, 9-1 Tech. So that's 4 straight bowl teams with 6-3 TCU and then 7-2 Cincinnati looming. That's a ridiculous 7-game stretch. And I don't know that it ended up being as tough as we thought it was when, they initially hit it, because Iowa State was 5-0 at that point. And I mean, but it's still 7 straight games against bowl eligible teams that are plus 500 without a break in there. I mean, with buys, or with a bye, but beyond that, I mean, it's just a really tough stretch. And I think the fact that they're 4-1 is sort of absurd with an opportunity to go 6-1.
And the pressure gap between these teams that are expected to win on Saturday and the teams that are playing with nothing to lose is as big as it's been all season. Okay, if you're TCU, you're trying to salvage your season. You can go in there in this spot and play fast, play free. You don't have to overthink. Meanwhile, BYU is still trying to control its own destiny to make the Big 12 championship game. Bear Bachmeier has not been in that position yet this season, but what he has been in are those type of positions in games in the second half where he has to will his team to a victory and get that extra yard or 2 on the ground, complete that pass to the open receiver, and take care of the football and will his team to a victory. And he's done it in game. But in terms of like the stakes going into a game, this is a very different position than we're accustomed to him being in this season. So it's a really interesting matchup with TCU and the way they throw the football, and BYU's passing defense has been really good. Can they get to Josh Hoover? Can they knock him around a bit and rattle him? But if TCU lingers in this game, I mean, that's the thing. There are so many games within the game now, because if these heavy underdogs hang around and start to believe, and it flips even more that pressure gap, it's going to be really, really fascinating to see how the favorites respond.
And the one we didn't mention is UCF at Texas Tech. I think both because we don't really think UCF will provide much resistance, but I think what you just said is very much in play. And here's what Joey McGuire said this week about, some of these scrappy teams, quote unquote, at the end of the season.
Well, both have opportunities, to still be bowl eligible. If West Virginia beats Arizona State, then they have a bye. They're playing us at home to become bowl eligible, and so that'd be a huge game. UCF, I mean, they've got games left, in order to get into a bowl, and so those coaches, those are two really good coaches. They've got a lot of pride. And the way the football is, I mean, we've seen it every week. Anybody can beat anybody.
So, probably the right mentality for a team that needs to continue to win and can't be susceptible to upsets. I mean, we have Jeff Woody, who played at Iowa State on a lot on the show. Woody's a good example of that, as Oklahoma State was cruising as an undefeated team heading into the BCS National Championship potentially on the road against an Iowa State team that was lifeless. And Jeff Woody had the game-winning touchdown against an undefeated Oklahoma State team that completely ruined and sabotaged their season. Happens every year. You have to have the right approach, an appropriate fear. Texas Tech needs to go into the UCF game with an appropriate fear of UCF. That you can't just let the success of last week carry over into this week. It's a start over, and you got to treat it that way. And I have no question in my mind that Joey McGuire will have his team ready to go based on that.
Like, this is the week where last season the madness just went full throttle, all gas, no brakes in the Big 12. This week last season, Arizona State went into Manhattan, Kansas. Kansas State was a heavy favorite in that game. They were up 21-0 at halftime. They won the game 24-14. Nobody saw that coming. Remember, K-State was 7-2. They were still controlling their own destiny for a path to the Big 12 championship. This was also the same week where Kansas went into Provo and beat BYU 17-13 and gave BYU their first conference loss,
Which
knocked them essentially out of the college football playoff picture.
and the Big 12 title picture.
And the Big 12 title picture. And not Kansas State, but very much BYU is in that exact same boat week 12 this year.
Well, and I think if we're looking for kind of an analog to what Kansas was doing when they went into Provo and won, it feels like Baylor. Again, it's just one game and it was UCF. But here's what Dave Aranda said about this matchup for Baylor against Utah.
This is just a huge game for us. This is a game we need to win. We're in an instance where, similar to last year, we have to win all the rest of these games, and the focus needs to be on 1-0 today and 1-0 tomorrow and 1-0 the next day, and stack those up so that we can get a 1-0 on Saturday night. And so very much for me, the focus is that. And I think all of these things as they play out will play out however they play out. But we have to win this game, and we have to play our best. This is a team that's embarrassed a fair amount of teams, and we're not looking to be that next team.
Well said.
And these guys have played a lot against each other, as you noted at the start of this segment, because of that non-conference home and home agreement that they signed and scheduled before conference realignment in this recent wave. So they played last year and they played 2 years ago, and Utah did really dominate the line of scrimmage in both those games. Remember, it was the Baylor-Utah game last year where Cam Rising got hurt and never played again the rest of the season. And Utah had a huge lead at halftime. Baylor made it a little bit interesting. I think they backdoor covered the spread on the road. But when Rising was healthy, they were no match. And Devin Dampier appears to be fully healthy, and I think he's going to be a nightmare for that Baylor defense. And Dave Aranda, he said it very cut and dry, very black and white. We need to win this game. It is a huge game. And I think he's talking about himself. I think he's talking about his assistant coaches. I think he's talking about the future at Baylor, because he's 5-15 against AP top 25 opponents coming into this season. And this year they beat SMU, but then they lost against, I think, 2 other top 25 teams. So that put him at, 6-17 for his career against top 25 teams. And he took over a program that was a top 20 team when he got the job, coming off of what Matt Rule had done.
Yeah. By the way, Utah, in their availability report, nobody.
Not a single guy.
Not a single guy listed in the availability report. For Texas Tech, Lee Hunter and Jacob Rodriguez listed as questionable. Questionable. Interesting. Not probable. Not doubtful. Questionable. So that's something to look out for. I'm trying to think through any other, especially these games we just talked about, any other big names that are And Evan Pryor is questionable. He's missed the last few for Cincinnati, so if they get him back, that'd be huge, to help their running game. But those are the big names. Utah has nobody. Jacob Rodriguez and Lee Hunter are questionable, and so is Evan Pryor for Cincinnati, who's missed the last couple of weeks, I believe. 2 straight weeks, I believe.
Well, if Jacob Rodriguez is going to win the Heisman Trophy,
he's got to play
or be sent to New York City.
Yeah.
He's on the football field
Yeah.
on Saturday. And maybe this is just Texas Tech and Joey McGuire making it public that he's not 100%, but he will play in this football game. I think getting Evan Pryor back for Cincinnati would be massive. He's their home run hitter. He's maybe the fastest running back in this conference. He averages over 8 yards per carry, and he's done it back-to-back years. Was a highly touted prospect out of high school from the state of Ohio, started his career at Ohio State, and he's their change of pace back. So having that dynamic home run hitting piece, that breakaway back to pair with Tawi Walker and Brendan Sorsby and their downhill between the tackle style is huge for Cincinnati. Big this week, even bigger next week against BYU.
That's James Westling. I am Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo and heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. All right, coming up next, Alexa Haley, the UCF volleyball star, first freshman to win the Defensive Player of the Week award of the Big 12 since 2021. She joins us live. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Yeah, so libero is kind of just like defense. It's only back row, and so I'll serve, receive, play defense. Such a big part of the libero role too is like a personality, and I've talked to my coaches about that too. So not only is it playing and passing and defense, but the personality and the energy that you bring to the court.
Is it like a leadership position in that way?
Yes, I would say some people call it like the captain of the back row. That's what my teammates are like. All right, take control of the back row, and they give me a lot of confidence in that. So yeah.
Is there like a speed that you're used to getting the ball at the back row? Because I would imagine if it gets past the first couple of rows, like there's a lot of velocity on the volleyball.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of people ask me that, like, or they'll ask just like, "Oh my gosh, that ball came so fast. How did you defend that?" I feel like it's such in the moment thing that I don't even realize I'm just trying to get the ball in the air. And then I'll watch it back and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was pretty fast." In the moment, it's something that I don't know. I just kind of react to.
You mentioned the leadership and kind of that responsibility that comes with playing that position. So how would you describe your personality on the floor and off the floor?
Yeah, so actually this is a great question for me because I feel like I'm two totally different people on and off the court. Off the court, I'm very reserved, not necessarily shy, but I just don't have like such a huge personality. But right when I step on that court, I have to kind of switch that mentality and switch that personality because being a libero, like I said, is not only about playing, but just about your energy and what you bring to the court and to your team. And that's something I have grown and will continue to grow in. But yeah, it's definitely like a switch that I have to flip on and off the court.
As somebody coming in that was, competing at the high school level last year, like, did you have doubts? And at what point did you realize, like, oh, I could play at this level?
Yeah, I definitely did. And I had, all through this process, I had to build my confidence in it. And I think the biggest thing that gave me confidence was just going out there and competing with my team during games, and the confidence that my coaches had in me and that my teammates have in me. And my teammates are so great and so welcoming. And I think they helped me so much with that and just believing in me. And through playing and just more exposure and experience, I was able to gain more confidence in that.
You had 17 digs against Iowa State.
I think so.
Like, were your forearms sore?
I don't know, James. Did
that?
I mean, I will say, in the beginning of season, I did get sore forearms, but I think I'm used to it now.
I mean, you were one of the top players, if not the top player in the state coming out, and one of the top players in high school volleyball. Why UCF?
So I was originally committed to FGCU with the former coach there, which is the coach here now at FGCU. And I thought FGCU was a great program. But for me, it was close to home, so that was like, I'm very close with my family, so I was super excited to be close to home. It was like 30 minutes away. And then the coaches left, and I obviously couldn't talk a lot. But I kind of decided to take a leap of faith and trusting God in that whole process. And I made the move to UCF, and that's still only 3.5 hours away from where I live right now. So my parents go up and see me a ton. But I think the girls and the coach and the community that he builds, in the community that he strives for, is so amazing, and it's something that I want to contribute and be a part of.
It says you started playing volleyball around 8 years old, influenced by your family, and you've got cousins. So take us through your volleyball journey. When did you first pick up a volleyball, and when did you realize, hey, I can be really good at this?
Yeah, so I was 8 years old when I started, pretty young. I didn't play my first 2 years. I was kind of like known as the cheerleader on the sidelines. I was the one cheering all the time. I would come up with some dances. And then when I was about 11, I had a coach who really believed in me, and that kind of inspired me and made me want to work hard because I saw that she believed in me. So I started doing things like privates and working out outside of volleyball and practice. And I think that's kind of outside of just the 2-hour window of practice that we got, that's kind of where I looked at myself and said, this is something I really want to do, and I think I could be good at it if I work hard at it. So yeah, I was kind of more even outside of practice that I realized that I loved this and I wanted to keep doing it.
That's awesome. We're talking with Alexa Haley here, the UCF freshman volleyball star, who is the first freshman to win the Defensive Player of the Week award in the Big 12 since 2021, an incredible accomplishment. Yeah, I'm curious, like, what do you like to do outside of volleyball? Do you like to listen to music, watch movie? Like, what's your thing?
So this is actually kind of new for me. Ever since I got to college, I love cooking and going grocery shopping. My roommate and I think we go grocery shopping like 3 times a week,
That's amazing.
just for fun sometimes. So
Publix is a
grocery
great
shopping
grocery
and
store, by
cooking,
the way. Very
I
jealous.
love it. Yeah,
It's like we have HEB in Texas, but Publix, I've heard, is on the same level.
yeah, I know. And pub subs, so even if I didn't want to cook one night, it's still perfect. I can get my groceries and a sandwich.
What do you like to cook? What's your favorite thing to cook right now?
Um, I go to Sprouts also. That's like my
Oh
other
yeah,
favorite, Sprouts. I love Sprouts.
it's the official
Um,
farmers market of the Big 12 too. So way to go.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good. Um, I'll get recently I've been doing either ground beef or chicken, and then I get this pasta from Sprouts, and it all has super good ingredients too, so that's my favorite part. And then I'll make that, and then my roommate and I will make some sweet potatoes in the oven, or some sweet potato fries. But yeah,
Yeah, see,
super
that's
fun.
James. This is like I talk about this all the time with my wife. Like, once you start seeing like some of the stuff that's in the food you're eating, you want to make your own food with your own ingredients. That's way better for you, and especially, of course, if you're an athlete. That wasn't a question. I was just commenting.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why I
It's
don't
the
eat
same
out.
thing.
So you originally committed to Florida Gulf Coast. You told us. You know, they're playing like Central Arkansas and Lipscomb and North Alabama in conference play, and you're playing Iowa State and Houston and Cincinnati and Texas Tech. Are you surprised that you've been able to have this type of year as a freshman at this level? Like, what has surprised you about yourself?
Yeah, I think going into it, I didn't know, and I feel like when you're in high school and in club volleyball, you put in credit to every single college athlete because this is obviously almost like a job that you have to do. But you put it on a pedestal and you're like, I don't know if I can do that, and doubt creeps in for sure. And that happened to me. I was like, I don't know if I can play this level. I mean, I'm only playing club in high school volleyball right now. Can I do this? And I think you kind of just get thrown into it as a freshman and you just do it. And you don't even have really time to doubt yourself or think about it too much. You just go in there and you just do it. And support from your teammates is so important. I'm so blessed with such an amazing team here at UCF. But yeah, it's kind of just like I feel like the only way you explain it is you just do it.
Awesome. Well, Alexa Haley, UCF Volleyball, thank you so much for your time this morning. Congratulations on being the first freshman to win the Defensive Player of the Week award of the Big 12, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you so much.
Awesome stuff. Alexa Haley educating us on volleyball and the cooking, man. I'm telling you, like, once you get into it, now I'm not good at cooking, but the science behind it, and then, of course, like, the knowledge of what's in it. And you mentioned, like, oh, I don't really eat out, but, like, even the things that you get at home, like, you look at some of these things and yeah, don't get me started.
What's that app
Or
that
get me
you
started.
that app
Yuka.
that you got me
Yuka,
on?
yeah.
Where you can scan the barcode of any item and it rapid fire gives you a score from 0 to 100
Yep.
on the healthiness of
Yep.
the actual deep dive ingredients that are in these things.
Yeah. And
When
like,
I do go to the grocery store, I'm walking around, people think I work there because I'm scanning barcodes up and down every aisle.
sir, what's wrong with you? Just trying to make sure there's no.
Just making sure my Magic Spoon cereal has more cereal and less magic.
That's James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. We are presented by Modelo. On the way next, an interesting plan by the SEC in order to shorten basketball games. We'll get into some of the interesting data involved there, and will the Big 12 adopt it? Plus, another G Leaguer is heading to the Big 12. So what does that mean, and do we like it? That's all coming up next. This is Big 12 Radio, brought to you by the Full-Time Fan by Modelo. And if you're listening to the show, grab yourself Modelo because you, my friend, are a full-time fan. James, we're working on him. Taman's definitely one. I'm Ari Temkin, and I'm definitely a full-time fan, and I drink Modelo. All right, on the way next, as I mentioned, BYU getting the latest G Leaguer. What's our feeling on that? And how is the SEC shortening games? That's next. This is Big 12 Radio on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios.
Okay. Because, see, I can't tell on my clock. That's the issue I'm facing. Well, wait a second, because one.
Along with James Westlake, I'm Ari Tepkid. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studio. So great to have you with us today and every day here on your home for the Big 12 Conference, TuneIn. If you missed our interviews yesterday, we were loaded. Kenny Dillingham joined us, the Arizona State coach. Joey McGuire, the Texas Tech head coach, joined us as well. You will hear what Kenny Dillingham had to say coming up in about 15 minutes from now. Along with James, I am Ari Temkin. We just heard from Alexa Haley, the volleyball star for UCF. If you missed that interview or any of our interviews, you can check them out on the TuneIn app on demand or wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Okay, I want to get you at a really interesting. You have some interesting information on the SEC and how they're shortening games. I want to get into that in a moment, but yesterday we sort of briefly mentioned that Abdullah Ahmed, who's been playing in the G League, 22 years old, has committed to BYU over Houston. And, I mean, he's got between 2 and 3 years of eligibility. The NCAA has cleared him. He will not play this year. He will be available to play starting next year. James, here's what Kevin Young told the media at Big 12 Media Days about signing G League players.
That makes tons of sense to me because it's the exact same thing as the European players. I don't think that, it's literally the exact same thing. Now, look, if you're an NBA guy that's on an NBA contract, I mean, the G League is no different than the Euro League. It's not the NBA. It's just not. Now, if you're on a two-way contract and you're on an NBA contract, you're an NBA player. If you're not, what's the difference of a guy coming from all these European clubs? So it's the same thing. So I'm a lot of things that make sense don't actually happen. For me, this actually does make sense. Now, if you want to strip away both sets of it, okay, great. But that's kind of how I see it, yeah.
I mean, I'd say pretty cut and dry. And again, this is, of course, Kevin Young talking before the Abdullah Ahmed signing. Now, with that being said, he was in on that conversation at that point in time. But what do you think?
Yeah, so I think that the really important note that he had there is that not every player in the G League is on an NBA contract. So I think we think of the G League as everybody there was drafted by or signed as an undrafted free agent by an NBA team, and they are stashed in the G League. 51% of players on NBA rosters have played at least a game in the G League. That's a high number. And so naturally, we think there's a direct line and correlation there. In Abdullah Ahmed's case, he's not on an NBA contract. No NBA team has signed him. So he is a guy that has eligibility, and that's the loophole for these guys that have played in the G League and are now playing in college basketball. And he won't play this year. He'll play next year. But he's played 18 games in the G League and averaged 4 points and almost 6 rebounds per game. So he was a productive player off the bench for the Westchester Knicks. He sees that his easier path, or easier is probably not the right word, but his better path to get to the NBA is to go to a program like BYU, play college basketball, and then give it another shot. And Kevin's right in that it is similar to the guys that are playing European basketball. It is professional basketball in Europe. There is no college basketball over in Europe. These guys are playing professional basketball at 15, 16, 17 into their mid-20s or 30s, and they still have eligibility under the current NCAA rules. So it's a loophole that these coaches are taking advantage of. And in the case of BYU, they're getting a 6'10" center who has major experience against grown men who's going to help their basketball team next year.
Yeah, it almost feels like there needs to be an age limit, if anything, in terms of differentiating between G League and international players. But I think Kevin Young is exactly right. And, I mean, it's if you're allowing international players that are playing professionally internationally to play college basketball, then why would you not allow G League? It's literally the same thing. I mean, G League is probably on the level of some of those European basketball teams. So I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. I just think from we're not as familiar with European teams. So you can be like, well, he was been playing for this team, and it's like, oh, I've never heard of them. What city is that? Like what country is that in?
Yeah, like this guy was playing for the Knicks.
Yeah, right.
The
exactly.
Westchester Knicks,
right.
but he was playing for the Knicks.
So we have so it's just, I think it's just hard for us as a sports viewing population to reconcile that, But ultimately, if people are upset about this, it's only going to make the sport better. Like, you're only introducing better players that are more equipped to play at a higher level. I guess you could argue, the development side, younger players, are you losing that? Maybe. But ultimately, the sport is better with the more healthy, available, better players you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was very, I was adamantly against the G League to college basketball idea until I learned that these guys are guys that otherwise wouldn't be playing professionally. Like, these guys are going to play college basketball because they aren't quite ready for the NBA. No NBA team has signed them or claimed them. And they're guys that out of high school didn't attract the level of offers that they felt they could with a couple of years in the G League. And so, I don't know that it's going to water down high school to college prospects as much as maybe we think and have that fear on the surface. Because I think that the guys that are getting in the G League are maybe guys that didn't have the offers that they wanted out of high school. And I still think that players are going to prefer to go play college basketball right out of high school because they'll make more in NIL than they would in the G League. Now, if NIL transfer portal wasn't a thing and players weren't getting paid, then yeah, this could be a real problem. A lot of guys would go make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in the G League and then go back to college. But now guys make double, triple, quadruple that their freshman year on campus. So I think it's something that we will see more often, but I don't think it's going to be this huge transfer portal overhaul where guys are regularly skipping college, playing in the G League, then going back to college at the age of 21 or 22 or 23. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, well said. All right, in hardwood action from last night, we'll start with the women's side. So Iowa State knocked off Valpo last night, 97-50. The story in that game is that Audie Crooks went for 43. If you haven't been paying attention, Audie Crooks is dominant to start the year. She's averaging almost 30 points a game. She scored 43 last night on 23 shots. So it's not like we talked about Kate Cunningham the other night scoring how many he scored on 40 shots.
Yeah.
I mean, she shot almost 80% from the floor and scored 43 points. So a ridiculous performance last night for Audie Crooks, the Iowa State star. At 16th ranked, Iowa State knocked off Valpo 97-50. Also last night, TCU with a win over Tennessee State, Kansas with a win over Lamar, and Louisville, 22nd ranked Louisville, knocked off Colorado 74-68. So a really good game on the women's side there. And some good ones tonight, SMU and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is off to a 3-0 start. It's a big year for Texas Tech. That's on the women's side. On the men's side, we've got a couple of Power 5 matchups tonight. Pitt's visiting West Virginia. So the backyard brawl in basketball tonight from Morgantown and your K-State Wildcats going up against the 3-0 Cal Bears.
Huge game for both those teams. I mean, Pitt is a tournament-type team. That would be a big win for Ross Hodge in his first season at West Virginia if they grabbed that one. And it's a huge game for Kansas State because Cal's looked really good to start the season. They're a program that is getting better every single year since they made a coaching change. And they're 3-0 and have just been beating the wheels off of lesser opponents, whereas Kansas State, they lost about every Power 4 non-conference game last season and really limped into Big 12 play. Also, Audie Crooks scored those 43 points in 20 minutes. She played half the game. She became the first player in women's basketball since 1999 to score 40 or more in playing 20 or less minutes.
She took 23 shots in 20 minutes and scored 43 points.
She could have had 80, is my point. Amazing.
Why not just put 3 on her? Hey, let's just get her to give up the ball. I'd love to see what they were trying to do to defend her.
Was Valpo's tallest player 5'6"? That's the only thing I can think of. She's just holding the ball above their heads, scoring baskets.
It's like the big sister, little sister, holding,
like they're jumping,
pushing their head,
knocking at the ball, and she's just holding it.
Oh, isn't that cute? You're trying.
Posing with it.
James Westling, Ari Tepkin, Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. All right, James. As you work on the TV side with ESPN and NBC, You were telling us about a kind of an interesting conversation with the SEC right now in terms of how they're trying to shorten games.
And that's no secret that college basketball games have gotten too long. And what's happening, all these TV windows are built for 2 hours, and they're going 2:15, 2:20, and basically shaving off most of the first half of the next game on the schedule. And we saw that in Big 12 games as well. So an SEC rules oversight official joined us on a production meeting, and college basketball games are 40 minutes. NBA games are 48 minutes. The average NBA game last year was 2 hours and 15 minutes of real time. The average SEC college basketball game was also 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's a problem. And it's not just the SEC, it's everybody. And I think the NCAA playing rules oversight panel has implemented policies for officials this year that's going to help. Obviously, the challenge rule is number one, but they're also limiting time spent at the monitor. These guys are going to be clocked each and every game to speed up the replay process. The SEC averaged almost 5 replays per game in conference games last year, and the average time spent at the monitor was X amount of minutes that delayed the play on the floor. And I think that,
correct me if I'm wrong, but the challenge, there's no coaches' challenges in college basketball. It's all initiated by officials on the floor.
There wasn't last year. There is this
That's
year.
right. That's right. We talked. Yep. That's right. That's
so
the huge
coaches
change.
will be able to challenge plays, but when it gets down inside of 2 minutes to go, then it's all up to the officials. So, I mean, during the first week of the NCAA tournament last year, there were 52 replay reviews that consumed 111 minutes of stoppage time. Nearly 3 full games worth of action. That's too long. It should improve this year, but all the conferences are working individually, not necessarily collectively, but it's a major point of emphasis this year is let's get these games in 2 hours, less free throws, less reviews. But the real interesting caveat to all this is during their research and their study in the SEC, they found that the reason that officials were going to the monitor so much was to appease the coaches. The coaches would ask the ref, hey, I think you should take a look at that. And rather than say no and have that difficult conversation, they were just going to the monitor way too much. And so I think that now with the challenges, all that goes away. We can just focus on the play on the floor, and it's going to be a much better thing for the sport.
Yeah, and we'll see overall what that does, but I would assume that's going to happen a lot with inside 2 minutes.
Inside 2 minutes, yes.
So ultimately, it's a good thing, but you almost wonder if moving forward, because I would imagine most of those 5 challenges occur with inside 2 minutes of the first and second half anyways, right?
Could be, yeah.
So, I mean, again, we'll see what this looks like. The other thing that just stands out to me that's hilarious is, of course, the SEC is leading this because, basically 2 hours and 15 minutes is about half the amount of time it takes for an SEC football game. I mean, those things are 4.5 hours.
That's a good point.
Yet there's no talk about shortening those games.
Yeah.
Are those games too long? Oh, no, please. 5 hours. Give me 6 hours of SEC football. But they're 2 hours and 15 minutes. Can we get this thing done sooner? Can we get this going close? Which I don't disagree with. It's just a funny thing because of how long these football games go.
Yeah, and I think football has become too long as well. I think that's the next step for next season is we try and figure out a way to shorten those games. And I think that the 2-minute timeout and there's one less commercial break, media timeout in games now, I think is a step in the right direction. The clock not stopping for every first down, but they're still too long, and they're way longer than NFL games, too. But it was fascinating to me that the average NBA game is 2 hours and 15 minutes.
What are they doing? Because they have challenges, too. But, I mean, I think the biggest thing that stood out, which is why this rule changed this offseason, is they have coaches' challenges. So you've got to – it's up to the officials, which makes sense to me because, officials don't want to have tough conversations with coaches more than they already are in game. So if it's the discretion of the officials, then – yeah, it makes sense they're going to be looking at so many more plays just to be I don't want another argument with this coach. I'm ready to just let this thing play out with, it on the video monitor.
And the next thing college basketball needs, and it blows my mind that we're not quite there yet, is the NBA plays 4 quarters, and the fouls reset every quarter. There's less free throws, which take up so much time. In college basketball, we are the only sport on the men's side still playing 2 20-minute halves. And we've asked a lot of coaches, and I would say our polls say 95% of them say we need to be playing quarters like they do in the NBA.
I mean, I've been barking up this tree for a long time. It's forget about the time part, which you're 100% right about. Like, basketball at its core is a sport of athleticism, of heightened athleticism. It is lots of jumping and crazy speed in a confined space. When you think about, like, 4 basketball courts that fit on a football field. Mm-hmm. So you got athletic dudes in football, but there's a much larger space to be more athletic. So it's like a contained level of athleticism, which is why I think it's the most athletic sport, because it's so contained in a small area. Free throws neutralize the best part of the game of basketball, which is the athleticism in a half court. And in many ways, like, free throws neutralize the athleticism even more because guys are incentivized to foul in certain situations, which take away the best part of the game, the dunking and the over-the-rim stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it takes more time to shoot free throws. Like, I cannot remember a half of any college basketball game, any half of any college basketball game that I've ever watched. I'd love to see what the percentages are of games each half ends with both teams shooting double bonus free throws.
Oh, yeah.
Every half, you've got at least 20 fouls between the two teams. Every single half.
And, man, I've had games where a team will be in the bonus by the first media timeout of the second half.
It's like, well, we're shooting free throws from here on out.
Exactly. And you just know the game is going to be a slugfest the rest of the way and going to come down to, in a lot of ways, can that team make their free throws, which, to your point, should be kind of a side note for the sport in college basketball. I don't think games should be decided because one team shot so much better than another team from the free throw line.
No, it takes them out of their offensive flow.
It's not entertaining.
It's not what we want for basketball. It's not.
It's an entertainment killer for the sport.
That's James Westing. I'm Ari Temkin. On the way, we've got our brand new Let's Get It On segment, and we'll find out and argue who the Big 12 offensive MVP is. But coming up next, Kenny Dillingham, the head football coach for Arizona State, joins us. Anytime Kenny's behind a mic, you cannot miss it. That's next. This is Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. You are listening to us exclusively on TuneIn, your home for the Big 12 Conference, your official one-stop shop. Also streaming live on your screen on Big 12 Studios with Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. And when you talk to Arizona State football coach Kenny Dillingham, you don't just have a conversation. You try and keep up with Coach. How's it going?
I'm great. How are you all doing?
Man, we're excited to have you on. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Want to ask you about, your name's coming up for coaching vacancies, but Rivals is reporting that, you've talked to your players about the process. How do you handle that with, the guys in your locker room? Because you're a very transparent, this is how it is type program. So tell us about the conversations and the relationships that you've continued to build with your players.
Yeah, I mean, I've made it very clear that this was my dream job when I took this job. And, I've made it very, very clear that my sister's my neighbor. My parents live 3 doors down. My 3.5-year-old hangs out with his cousins every day and my wife's grandparents. At the end of the day, you can't control what people are going to write, what people are going to say. I know the people in this building I've communicated with, and, I know those people can trust me for my word.
Yeah, it's funny. I always laugh when I see some of these rumors, and it's like, do they not know that he's from there and went to school there and your wife went to school there? Like, I don't know. It seems to make the most sense for you to stay at Arizona State despite maybe, I don't know, what might have motivated coaches 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, every coach wants the ability to win championships. I think that's at the bottom line. That's what every coach, every competitor, if you're a coach and you're playing and you're trying not to win championships, something is wrong, right? What are you doing? You're just out there in exhibition, practicing to practice. So I think for me, everything comes down to, man, can you be in a place where you're happy, where your family's happy, and also compete for championships? And that's always the goal. And we did that last year. We're still in the hunt this year for that same thing. And so we're just trying to get this place to be the best version of itself.
Man, you guys have had just so much bad luck with injuries this year. Your quarterback, Sam Levitt's out for the year. Have you and him had conversations about what next year might look like? I think going into the season, everybody's thinking if he has another really good year, he's going to the NFL. What can you tell us about just those conversations you and Sam have had?
Yeah, I'm not going to get too much into that stuff. I've always want what's best for my players and what their dreams, goals, and aspirations are. I'm already getting to live out my dream. I'm lucky. I'm one of the few that get to do that. My job as the head coach is to help our players live out theirs. And so when guys ask me for advice, when guys ask me, what's next, I'm always going to give them advice not based off being the head coach at Arizona State, advice based off of somebody who wants to see you achieve your dreams, goals, and aspirations just like I get to live out. So a little bit different probably than most. We don't recruit our own players to stay here. That's not our deal. I'm not going to talk a kid out of going pro if I think it's best for them. I want to see them do it. I want these guys to absolutely get to live out their dream.
If I would have told you before the season that you'd be coaching the majority of the year without Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, and Xavier Alford, what would you guess your record would be to this point?
Oh, I don't know. If it's and buts were candy and nuts, there's some saying that goes after that. So I couldn't tell you what that would be. I love the way our guys are competing. I think it shows a lot about, the culture in the building.
Agreed.
The 100 guys that are coming together to fight and compete, scratch and claw. And that's what I'm proud of. And crap, we're in a good spot. We got to go. We got a tough opponent this week in West Virginia who's playing well right now, who's physical and tough and can establish the run. So I'm proud of how these guys are fighting and competing.
Has the rest of the league called you yet to figure out how to beat Texas Tech?
Man, I wouldn't call myself to figure out how to beat Texas Tech. Our players played phenomenal that game. That was a player one game, not a coaching one game.
Man, Jeff Sims has had some really good games. He set an Arizona State quarterback rushing record. a couple of weeks ago. Just the fact that he's still in the program and that he had, he's been to like 18 different schools, but Arizona State the longest. So what's he like as a person, and what are you most proud of when you think about him?
I mean, been to 3 schools, and obviously for him, this is the first time he's ever been in a system 2 years in a row. When he was at Georgia Tech all those years, different system. Transfers, different system. Comes here, new system. This is the first time in his career that this uber talented player gets to be in the same system 2 years in a row. Between that, he trusted the system. He wanted to be in it twice. He loves the people here. He loves the place here. I think that's why he chose to stay, was he needed to be in something multiple years, knowing that his opportunity would come. And for him to take his opportunity the first week that he got all the prep to go perform and perform the way he did, I'm just super proud of him, happy for him. He's an incredible person and an incredible kid. Like, he's just a great human being. And our team loves him. His teammates love him. So to see a kid like that, have the success he had after choosing to come back, choosing to be here, super, super fun to watch.
We're talking with Kenny Dillingham, the head football coach for Arizona State. As they said, it's 6-3 on the season and very firmly in the picture for the Big 12 championship. Your tagline is "Activate the Valley." I'm curious, now that you're 3 years in, and with the success from last year, like, how much have you been able to quote unquote activate the Valley? What have you seen, from a substance standpoint to do that, both from a fans and then obviously from a recruiting standpoint?
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, our games have been all sold out the last 7 games. We're probably about to sell out this one. We'll sell out Arizona for sure to end the season. So we would have had a full sold out crowd all the entire season. Going back to last year, we had a sellout game to end it. The environment here, people are excited. We're talked about on sports radio all the time locally. We are very, very, very relevant right now. The Valley is activated. When it comes to, we got a long way to go when it comes to businesses and donor support. A long way to go. That's the piece that I haven't done a good enough job with. I haven't gotten those guys engaged enough here. So obviously, I got to do a better job there getting people, because of all the excitement. We're still way behind in this other category, drastically behind from where we need to be. And that's the part for me that I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong, because it's, a program that I'm building all facets of. There are no excuses. And then in terms of just the recruitment, people are fired up. We've got an unbelievable class. I love our class that we're bringing in. So people are excited to come and watch a sold-out crowd with guys who play hard, see guys get developed, and I think that's something people want to be a part of.
Kenny Dillingham, he's a football savant with a Red Bull heart here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Coach, hey, you were telling us during the break that recruiting is going really well for you guys, and you mentioned that, you're looking at a lot of JUCO kids. Did that eligibility pass through that ruling where JUCO kids can play JUCO ball, go to an FBS school, have 4 years of eligibility? I mean, you may have really found like a really nice loophole in the recruiting pipelines for these JUCO kids.
Market inefficiency, we'll call it.
Yeah, that hasn't gone through yet.
Okay.
We'll see if it goes through. To me, I like dudes who get it the hard way. I love the underdog story. I love the people who have to work and grind and fight and compete. And I think there's a lot of power in people that are hungry. I think it's powerful. I think people that just want it so bad. And I think a lot of times you get that in JUCO. And, you look at Cam, not junior college, but, a lower level coming up. I love those guys. Xavier Guillory, we had in our past. Maxie Honachor was a JUCO kid starting at right tackle for us. Kyle Scott was a JUCO kid starting at right guard for us. I just love dudes who get it out the mud. And there's a lot of JUCO kids who got it out the mud, who love ball, that I want to be able to coach and give the opportunity to play.
Talking with Kenny Dillingham here, Kenny, and I'm curious for your thoughts kind of holistically on the Big 12. Last year you had such a successful year and came from nowhere, and feels like despite the injuries, you guys are still competing toward the top. Texas Tech is a different animal this year. Utah too. I mean, what What's the state of the conference overall, in your opinion?
Yeah, the conference is definitely better. I think the bar was raised in the conference. I think people realized what it takes to be successful in the current landscape of college football. And I think, some teams, some organizations, some donor bases have really stepped up and raised the bar for what it takes to be successful in the league. And I think you can see that. I think you can see that with some of these schools that you just mentioned, that they're really putting their best foot forward to compete for the championship and compete for championships. And I think the league is significantly better than it was last year. And the thing that's really cool about this league is, there are so many, anybody can beat anybody any week. And that still hasn't changed. So even though the top kind of raised, the bottom, flew with it. And, there are no weeks off right now in this league. There are no weeks off on our schedule. Every week is a challenge.
When we look at where the league has grown from last year to this year, we look at the line of scrimmage. So many teams have gotten so much better, Texas Tech and Utah and BYU, what they're doing at the line of scrimmage. You guys and your rushing defense has been much better. You've had so many more sacks and pressure on the quarterback this year. Is that what you see, or what would you pinpoint in terms of the league is better?
Yeah, 100%. The defensive lines in this league are really good. You look at Houston, I think Houston's defensive line is very underrated. One of the best we faced. Their nose guard is phenomenal. You've already mentioned the other schools that get talked about quite a bit. But you have that, and then you have quarterback play. We have a conference that has really good quarterback play. And if you're good in the D-line and you have good quarterback play, you're probably going to win a lot of games. See the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's a really good recipe to win. And I think teams have recognized that, and teams are kind of chasing that. Good D-line play, stop the run, impact the passer, good quarterback play, be able to move the ball, score touchdowns. It's a simple game.
Last one for me, Coach. And you've always been super open and honest and transparent about injuries, maybe to a fault. I'm curious for kind of your overall thoughts on how the first year of these injury reports have gone, and do we need more transparency and uniformity across all 16 Big 12 programs?
To be honest, I don't care. I want our guys to know. I know there's some competitive advantages by just being open and honest and transparent. Some competitive, disadvantages to not being open and honest and transparent is what I meant to say. I want our guys to know I believe in who's going to take the field, right? That I have enough belief in what we're doing, right? That we don't need to do other things. We're going to stay solely focused on us. And that doesn't mean it's the right way. I struggle to be dishonest. That's a flaw in me. People can see through it. If I filibuster, I just don't want to answer the question. But very, very, very hard for me to absolutely be dishonest. It's just not how I was raised. And then two, I want our guys to know we have full belief in them. I want, when Jeff knew he was going to start, I want him to know, everybody knows Jeff's going to start. The opponent, our team, let's go dance, baby. Let's go put our best foot forward and go compete.
Kenny, you guys have the TNT game this weekend, right, against West Virginia?
We do.
Are they on campus? I mean, we've talked to the TNT team. We've had them on our show to talk about everything they do behind the scenes, and they ask for a lot of access, and usually they get it. So is this like real world Kenny Dillingham? They just following you around with a camera crew all week?
They're actually at West Virginia this week before they come out here. And me, not really. I can do the media stuff, and that's great because that's what's needed to brand yourself in college football.
Yeah.
I really want this program to be about our players. Unfortunately, I have to be the focal point at times that people can rally behind because that's college football. Players come and go, coaches stay, for the most part.
Right.
Unfortunately, but coaches stay, especially that want to be somewhere, and this is a player-run program. This is not Kenny Dillingham's program. This is Jordan Tyson, Xavier Alford, Keyshawn Elliott, CJ Fight, Keith Abney, Jordan Crook. It's their program. If those guys show up on campus, I want them to focus on them because it's not about me. It's about them. So they're not here. They do a great job, but if they were, I wouldn't want it to be about me. I want it to be about the guys who actually, make this thing go.
How's your son? Is he 2 now?
3.5.
3.5.
That's how far it's been, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that means you're 57. But,
He dresses like it, but he's not.
but no, he's 3.5. He's running around. He's catching the ball. He's coming out to practice. He gets to go to every game with his cousins, his 3 cousins, and both his sets of grandparents.
It's amazing.
So I would say he's extremely spoiled. Eventually, we're going to have to start taking things away from him because he's pretty spoiled right now.
Man, I love your background. You got the Bo Nix jersey. Is that the stadium right behind you?
That's not the stadium. It's a reflection, to be honest, of the photo of Pat Tillman.
Okay. It's a reflection of Pat Tillman with the stadium backdrop.
Oh, yeah.
With the stadium in the background. That's right.
Dude, that's cool.
That's cool.
And then there's a TV reflection in the background. I flipped my office around. It's set up completely backwards of how it should be. I don't like not being able to see my door, so now I can see my door. Before, I have a phobia of who's walking in.
Totally.
So I have to be able to see my door. So my office makes no sense. My wife hates it, but I can see the door, so I feel better.
Totally agree with you on that one, by the way.
Well,
you need to see the door. Don't want to have your back to the door.
You know, the way you run your program, the way you call plays, that does make sense. We appreciate your time, Coach. Man, you're always so generous, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Go Devils.
All right.
Best.
Kenny Dillingham, head coach, Arizona State, here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We'll react to that conversation coming up next. Also streaming live on Big 12 Studios. This is the Big 12 Conference, and we are brought to you, the full-time fan, by our friends at Modelo.
Along with James Wesley, I'm Ari Tebkin, Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today. James is on social at James Wesley. You can get me on social at Ari Sports. Damon Turner is our producer. We are presented by Modelo. For all the full-time fans out there, cheers to you. Grab a Modelo. Big 12 Radio presented by Modelo here on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. Jakeem Grant, the former Texas Tech wide receiver, joins us coming up in about 30 minutes from now. But now, our latest segment. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Taman.
Thank you, Mills Lane. May he rest in peace, the legendary Mills Lane. All right, let's get it on. A segment where we argue different points based on topics at hand.
First question, guys. Which Big 12 men's basketball team is the most underrated?
Go ahead, Ari. I've got who I think your pick might be and a backup pick. So I want to see who you say first.
Let's go meta here. Who do you think? Let's argue about who you think my pick is.
It's like a sequel to Inception.
Because I don't think you think who my pick is.
I don't think your pick is Kansas. I think your pick is Oklahoma State. Oh!
Wrong. Who's your backup?
Kansas State.
Pish posh.
I don't know.
The most underrated team in the Big 12 in basketball is Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Bearcats. It's not Kansas. It's not Kansas State. It's not Oklahoma State. Cincinnati. They just are coming off a regional victory against a pretty good Dayton club. A game that they led 74-62 the whole way. Day Thomas went for 20. But it's not Day Thomas to me that makes them underrated. It's Kirk Risa. It's Baba Miller. It's Abayev. It feels like the last couple of years, the only person involved with Cincinnati basketball who's cared is Wes Miller. Feels like they've got players at the end of the year in must-win situations, and it's like they just don't care. And Wes Miller's out there pouring his heart out into his team. Kirk Risa cares. Baba Miller, like that dude is he is a defensive stalwart. He's an energy guy. Like, they've got guys that care, which I think is the biggest thing they've been missing in terms of the glue of that team in moments when they need those guys. I think this is a tournament team this year. I think this is a severely underrated team in the Big 12.
I like that pick, but I like my pick better. The most underrated Big 12 men's basketball team in terms of where they were preseason picked and where they will finish is Oklahoma State. They went 17-18 last year, 7-13 in the Big 12, but they got valuable postseason experience. They played in not the NIT, one of those other weird postseason tournaments for teams that don't make the big dance, won a couple of games, and then got better in the offseason. Buy-in from the administration, from the fans in Stillwater. My only question is, can they be overrated from where they're currently about to be rated? Because people are starting to take notice of Oklahoma State, and it's almost starting to feel like if they don't make the NCAA tournament, it's going to be a disappointment. But I think they will. Jalen Curry, their backcourt combo of him and victorious Miller from LSU, who was a five-star recruit, averaged 9 points per game last year as a freshman at LSU. He can score at all three levels. They can score the basketball. Steve Lutz's Western Kentucky team led the nation 2 years ago, his last year there, in adjusted tempo. They want to play fast. They want to play free. They're frenetic. They're 3-0 to start the season, averaging over 90 points per game. We haven't seen that since the Big Country era of Oklahoma State basketball. They are back.
And I think we can go even deeper than underrated, because I don't know that I would put Utah in that category quite yet based on 3 wins to start the season over San Jose State, Weber State, and Holy Cross. They've got Sam Houston on Saturday. Then they play Purdue something or other. Then Cal Poly. Then Grand Canyon. But then they get Cal at Cal. Then they get Mississippi State. They get Washington. So they've got a few tough spots. But they're 3-0 to start the year. And they just, I don't know. They look more organized. Like, they look like a team that could potentially be a sleeper in the Big 12. Not ready to go there quite yet, but I like the Alex Jensen hire. We'll see how it develops as they play tougher and tougher opponents.
Hey, don't sleep on my Kansas State Wildcats. PJ Haggerty.
Can't believe you
bucket
bypassed
getter.
K-State here.
I'm a little concerned about their rebounding in Big 12 play, but they have the backcourt and they have the scoring. And Jerome Tang says, this is a little bit weird for me because we're in a point where we might just be trying to outscore people. They don't play a lot of defense this year so far in Manhattan.
All right, guys, let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Which coach has a longer tenure moving forward at his school? Will it be Lance Leipold or Deion Sanders?
I got to applaud Taman for the first question. I think it was a really good one. I think this one's pretty lousy, if I might say so myself.
Oof, jeez.
Well, I mean, there's no it's Deion Sanders. Like, what? What are we talking about here? Like, if Lance Leipold loses 2 straight here now, I think there's a pretty good chance he's going to be gone at Kansas after the season if they had to 5-7. Deion's, I mean, you're talking about
sources. You got inside sources over there?
No, absolutely not.
Is it possible Deion leaves because of health issues?
Call him Captain Connected.
Not saying he won't get fired. He just leaves because of health issues.
It's a lousy question, Taman. Ooh. James, do you disagree? Not a lousy question, but do you disagree the longer shelf life, longer tenure is Deion Sanders?
Yes, I do disagree. I think Lance Leipold has the longer tenure because of Taman touched on it there. Deion's health issues. Also, Colorado's 3-7 this year? Like, how much losing is Deion going to be able to handle before he walks away when you pair that with everything he's going through, just in the strength and the energy it takes to be on the sidelines, in practice, running a college football program? And I think Lance Leipold gets a little bit more grace considering, he took KU from the cellar. He's taken them to multiple bowls. They got their first bowl win since 2008. He also has a deal that runs through 2029. He's in the upper tier of Big 12 salaries, which means he has an upper tier buyout. So I think that he's going to at least get 1 or 2 more years. And as long as he has them making a bowl game, which I do think they will do this season, I think he buys a little bit more time.
I stand corrected. It's a great question to debate.
All right, next one, guys. Final one. In college football, who is the Big 12 offensive MVP this season?
All right, James, I'm going to let you start. This is a good one. This goes in the good category.
Yeah. Okay. MVP, most valuable player. Not the Big 12 Heisman, the Big 12's most valuable offensive player for their football team. I'm going with Cincinnati quarterback Brendan Sorsby. I don't think Cincinnati's even sniffing the type of season that they've had without him. He has 20-plus touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. He had to be incredibly efficient this year for Cincinnati to do anything, and then he's been much better with his legs than I think we thought he would be coming into this season, and based off of how he finished the year last year. There were so many questions about could he bounce back from the downward slide that he had last season, and sure, Cincinnati's defense has certainly helped. Their upgrade at wide receiver has helped, but he, I believe, is the most valuable player to their football team because I look at Texas Tech and Baron Morton. They've shown they've won games without him. I look at Utah and Devin Dampier. They've shown that they can win with their defense. BYU and Bear Bachmeier, they have a lot of pieces around him. I think Sorsby is doing more with less in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I disagree. And I think, there's probably a decent amount of candidates that you can look at, whether that be Devin Dampier at Utah. Sorsby, I think, is a good call. What about Bear Bachmeier at BYU? He's doing it, and he's expanded the opportunity for BYU because even though they've got to have a lot of pieces around him, important for quarterback overall success. I think you could also go with like a Dean Connors at Houston to a lesser degree.
Okay.
I'm going with Noah Fafita.
Ooh.
Quietly the most underrated quarterback in the Big 12. I think, look, Sorsby, I like that you made the case there for Sorsby, but remember, Brett Brennan came in last year, got Fafita to stay, despite having a fantastic start to his career under Jedd Fisch, and he did not have a great season last year, and Fafita could have been like, I'm out, peace. This didn't work. You were supposed to come in and help make me look better on offense, and it was an atrocious combination, but he stuck with it. He bared down, pardon the pun, and has improved dramatically this year. To me, he is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country this year. Completing 64% of his passes, 2,200 yards passing, 23 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He's been sacked 22 times. So, he's facing pressure, and yet, despite that, he's done really well throwing the football, and then he also has added 3 more touchdowns on the ground. He's got 75 carries, 109 yards. But I do think Cincinnati's got some pieces. Like, they've got pieces downfield. They've got good running game. And while Arizona does have quality running backs, I feel like Fafita has to do more with less at Arizona, which is why I think he is the offensive MVP.
Can we give the offensive MVP to an offensive lineman? Because Spencer Fano at
good
Utah
call.
might be in the mix. 265 pass blocking snaps this season. He has allowed 0 sacks. He's only allowed 5 pressures. And then Caleb Lomu, the other tackle, 264 pass blocking downs, snaps, 0 sacks allowed, only 6 pressures all season. That tackle duo has been dominant for Utah.
Yeah, I'm going to call it. Utah's offensive line is going to be the Joe Moore Award winner, which is handed off to the best offensive line in college football every year. Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that Utah's offensive line is going to win that award.
Yeah, I don't even know who else would be in the conversation. I mean, the highest graded Pro Football Focus offensive lineman in the country is from Utah. Fano. I don't know why I always want to say Fano.
I mean, something called Bird Ficklin started for Utah behind that offensive line, and they ran for 200-some-odd yards. Like, James Westling could play quarterback behind that offensive line and manage, I don't know, some yardage.
That Nelly Furtado song popped into my head when you said something called Bird. What a game for Utah.
I'm not familiar with the Nelly Furtado catalog.
Taman? Nelly Furtado?
Yeah.
I'm
It's
like
my
a bird.
generation.
Thank you.
What's the big song?
I'm like a bird. I think it's I'm like a bird. I'm like a bird, I only fly away.
Can you sing it for me?
I'm like a bird, I only fly away.
It's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. That is Mills Lane's Let's Get It On here on Big 12 Radio. Mills?
Let's get it on!
Thank you. Big 12 today, presented by Modelo. Okay, we've got Jakeem Grant coming up. You're not going to want to miss the former Texas Tech wide receiver, Jakeem Grant. Plus, some interesting stuff we'll have to discuss in the final whistle on today's show. With James, I'm Ari. This is Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Coming up next, though, we hear from the head coach of the 9-1 Texas Tech Red Raiders, currently situated 6th in the latest college ball playoff rankings. We'll talk with him about the BYU game, the win, and I'm going to ask him about the elephant in the room with Texas Tech, which is just the 53% conversion rate for touchdowns in the red zone. That's all coming up next. This is Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Short field for the Wildcats. Fafita wants to go deep, wants it all. He's got it all from third.
12 today here on Big 12 Radio. You are listening to us exclusively on TuneIn. You are watching us on Big 12 Studios. Ari Timken, James Westling, Taman on the controls. We welcome in the head football coach of Texas Tech, ranked number 6 in the recent college football playoff rankings, Joey McGuire. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate your time. This time of year, I cannot imagine everything you have going on behind the scenes. And I'd love to know, last night with the college football playoff rankings coming out, what's it like for you guys? Do you guys gather as a team? Is it like Selection Sunday for basketball? I mean, what was the setup?
We were actually walking off the practice field. So, the guys were showering and, Tuesday nights, whenever we win, we have victory dinner. So you're going to get steak. And I think we had steak and lobster last night. And so those guys were doing that. I actually did run up here and flip on the TV and kind of see where we're at and listen to all the guys talk about each team.
Yeah, I mean, so Jacob Rodriguez, you've done a really good job because we know from the Heisman Trophy standpoint, so much of it is about positioning, branding, narrative, and you've done a really good job to help to build that. And Rodriguez flashed the Heisman pose during the game. Have you ever seen? You've been around football a long time, Joey. Have you ever seen a defensive player have the season he's having? 1 and 2. Can you just speak to what people maybe don't see in terms of his leadership and then his ability to dominate within Shield Wood defense?
The thing that I have really jumped on the bandwagon of trying to get him to New York is just how he affects the game in the turnover area. Like if you're sitting there and you're talking about if you win the turnover battle, how the percentage of winning the game goes up, and this dude is just creating turnover after turnover. I think we're 3 or 4 away from setting the single season record. No doubt he's checking that for me, to kind of use, and he's just something, man. And people play off of him. He's taking that, really taking that to heart, knocking the football out. And then, man, he is a great human. It's a great story from him being a walk-on, after being a scholarship player at Virginia, playing quarterback, now playing linebacker. And then his wife's an absolute rock star. She's in the military. She's a Black Hawk pilot. And she's incredible. So it's just such a great story. And it's a guy that's playing at such a high level. I mean, he is really affecting games. Not only just tackling the football, but taking the football away.
Joey, what did you like most about the way your team played in that win over BYU?
I thought we did a good job stopping the run. They had coming into the game number 1 running back in the Big 12 and LJ, big running back. They're big up front, O-line, and then I don't know how big that quarterback is. I mean, I think they list him like at 225, 230. He's seems like more like 260. And I thought we tackled really well and we stopped the run. And that allowed us, we talk about it all the time, stop the run, you earn the right to rush the passer. And that allowed us to let our edge guys go to work.
One of the things I think that sort of bothers me about the narrative around Texas Tech this year is the money side. And, I mean, top 10 in money, but that's, not number 1, not number 2, not number 3, right? Like, so there's teams in front of you that have spent more money, and yet those teams aren't being talked about from a money standpoint. And then I go back to, like, we said this to you at Big 12 Media Days, like, it's on you now as the coach because the talent is there. So, I'm just curious, how have you been able to build that camaraderie, that chemistry with the group that includes a lot of newcomers and a lot of guys that have played at multiple different programs?
It starts, one, with having Baron Morton and Jacob Rodriguez, Raj Ramirez, Corey Aiken, I can go on and on. The guys that have been with me since I got here, I think that's a big part of this because, they understand this is what we do. And I think what they can do is they were able to validate or explain to all these new guys, hey, this is how it is, man. Like, when you come into this building, it's going to be the same way every day. Whenever he tells you every single person that's employed at Texas Tech are here to make you a better person, to take care of your body, to make sure you're, taking care of your academics, like everybody in this building, it's all about the player. And so whenever they see that, they've been other places to where people said it was that, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, or somebody had a bad day and this and that. And so I think they appreciate, whenever I told them, if you come here, you're going to play your best football. We're going to make sure you're in a state-of-the-art facility to take care of your body, and you're going to enjoy coming in the building every single day. And that's happened, so they believe and trust that, and I think that has brought them closer and closer together.
Joey, how does this – we're talking with Texas Tech football coach Joey McGuire here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. How does this team compare from a chemistry, all the things you were talking about there, and the culture and the buy-in and the locker room, just the feel that this team has? Is it different from your other three teams at Texas Tech? Has it just been elevated to another level, or were all those other teams on the same page too?
We had some – I was really proud of how we were able to bring the team together year one. I think there was a lot of buy-in in a hurry. They were an older group, so that really helped because this group's a really older group. But I feel like we've had really healthy locker rooms. We just at times, be honest, we got better players like David Bailey and Romello Height and Lee Hunter and guys like that. But the other thing, knock on wood, we've been healthier. Like year two, I felt like we were going to be a really good team, and we go into BYU with a freshman quarterback. It's like that's hard to win at a high level whenever you're having injuries like that, and we've had to deal with some injuries, but we've been pretty healthy overall. And I do think that's the magic. If you come to Texas Tech, the most important thing we have in this program are our players, and I think you'll feel that every single day.
You have, and you mentioned this on game day with Coach Saban, you have so many coaches that you have relationships with based on, your time, obviously, as a contemporary, but also at Cedar Hill. I'm curious, do you have ongoing conversations with some of those coaches? Are you asking for advice, or is that something kind of you save for the off season? When you're in season, you're doing your own thing?
The guys that I talk to in season, Matt Rule, of course, and Jeff Traylor. Those are my two go-tos all the time, all season long and then, all year long. But there's other coaches, that I talk to in the off season. And then really the guy that needs some credit too is Grant McCaslin. That's my go-to. I think it was after the Utah. It was after the Utah game. And I was, I usually get out and try to get a little walk in and get some sun and everything. And I called him and I said, man, we are struggling penalty-wise, and just some of the stuff that you would talk about and what's important and stuff like that. So that's what's so great, man. I've got such an incredible guy like Grant McCaslin. I can just pick up the phone or run over to his office or anything like that.
Man, that's phenomenal. He's the men's basketball coach at Texas Tech, Grant McCaslin. You coach football. What are those conversations like? I'd love to be a fly on the wall for
you guys
those.
are cut from the same cloth. Very similar personalities, very genuine people, both of you guys.
Yeah, the thing that I love about Grant, it's all about the player too. And then, you'll see when we win a game, the basketball social media or somebody will tweet out, tough teams win, and that's what I love about him. It's all about how hard you play and the toughness you have. And so it's easy for me to pick up the phone and talk like that. He came and talked to the team during camp right before we broke camp, and they just absolutely crushed it. And I've used a couple times, just reminding our players, some of the things he said. And one of his big deals was it's all about the team. Like, how hard you play, it shows how much you care about each other, stuff like that.
I'm going to nitpick for a second here, Joey. This is the last one I got for you. I had to save it for last. The defense is obviously dominant. The offense has been very good, especially running the football, but 24 of 59 in the red zone, scoring touchdowns, 53.7%. It was obviously came up. How do you fix that?
Yeah, man, that's been a killer. And it's kind of a little bit, we've had some penalties that we've got to continue to fix. We've gotten a lot better. We're still not where we want to be. I want to eliminate all pre-snap penalties, but We've gotten better. We've really moved. Whenever you look at the numbers, I look at the stats all the time and everything. That's whenever it comes to everything about football. And then we've got to catch the football. We had 2 back-to-back plays where we threw the ball in the end zone, and that's ball. It's just not the receivers. That's ball placement by the quarterback. And that's receivers. I mean, we had 2 drops back-to-back that you put that ball in, and now, instead of 13-0 at halftime, we go up 20-21-0. And so we got to make sure we do that. I mean, schematically, I think we have some good stuff. We just got to execute it at a higher level because we have to. Like, you're not going to get away. We got lucky with BYU that we got away with that. You're not getting away with that, and especially when you start coming to one-score games, you can't go and kick field goals and expect to win. I tell our defense that all the time. Make a kick field goals. They're not going to beat us.
Well
Texas Tech up to number 6 in the college football playoff rankings. Coach, if charisma could rush the passer, Joey McGuire would lead the nation in sacks.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Coach. Take care.
I appreciate y'all having me.
All right,
Wreck
see you,
'em.
Coach. Texas Tech Coach Joey McGuire here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. More to come on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We'll take a look at some Big 12 basketball, what happened last night between Texas Tech and Illinois, and the curious case of Kansas guard Darren Peterson before we talk Utah Utes, and then the final whistle still to come here next hour on Big 12 Radio. You're dialed in exclusively on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios, powered by Modelo.
12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today, along with James Westling. I am Ari Temkin. We are presented by Modelo. Big 12 Radio heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios, and we are pleased to be joined right now by Jakeem Grant, the former wide receiver of the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who in 2015, James, despite having two NFL quarterbacks on the roster, somebody named Patrick Mahomes and Davis Webb, only one quarterback in 2015 completed 100% of his passes for a touchdown and no interceptions. That'd be Jakeem Grant, the wide receiver, who is 1 of 1 for 72 yards and a touchdown. Take that, Patrick Mahomes, right, Jakeem?
Yeah.
Do you remember that play?
I do.
Was take us through it. What was it?
Man, it was I do remember the play. I can't.
Or was he wide? Who was the receiver? Were they wide open? Or you're like, this is my moment. I gotta hit this.
I can't even recite it.
I mean, it was 10 years ago.
It was so long ago. There's so many plays made, man.
No, but what an incredible season in 2015. Incredible career at Texas Tech. The all-time leading receiver with 1,200 yards, 90 receptions, and 1,200 yards in that 2015 team. Like, what do you remember about that season? Cliff Kingsbury as coach, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. You're putting up 1,300 yards receiving. What do you remember about that season?
Man, I could just say, man, it was fun. It was extremely fun, man. Teammates. I definitely miss it. The camaraderie that we had. It was like we had a brotherhood in the locker room, and so I think that's what really fueled us going into every single game and made it that much fun. When we went out there, so it was just electrifying, man. Honestly, just knowing that we're gonna go out there in any given day, that especially with Pat at quarterback, and put up 60 points a game, and so. But I would say that season was just it was memorable. It led my legacy to where I'm at today.
So Jakeem Grant is the all-time career receiving yards leader at Texas Tech. Jakeem Grant is number 1. Michael Crabtree is number 2. In that 2015 Tech team, you guys were a lot of fun because you scored 60 points, but also the defense gave up 60 points.
Yeah.
So you guys were second in the nation in scoring offense, but 125th out of 128 teams in scoring defense. My question is, if you had your 2015 offense and this year's 2025 Texas Tech defense, would you have won the national championship?
Man, absolutely, man. I was talking to Pat not too long ago, and we was talking about it, and I was like, hey, bro, if we had this defense, bro, we had a natty easily. We had a natty, and you got not to knock any of the players that played for our defense in 2015. We just. I mean, the numbers don't lie. Like, we gave up just as many points as we scored. And so, man, it was. I was just, and especially like they're playing shutout defense. Like, it's crazy. You got J-Rod in the middle that's controlling that whole defense, and he's going nuts. And so, man, I just wish those guys was there when I was there.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a team that had literally 2 NFL quarterbacks on its roster that went 7-6.
Yeah,
right? So, like,
exactly.
There are a few teams in college football that have 1 NFL quarterback on the roster, let alone 2, because Davis Webb's played. It's crazy.
And I told Pat, I said, bro, just imagine how many more yards we would have had if we had just like, how many 3-and-outs we would have had, and
right?
We would have went down there and scored, man.
You guys would have scored like 80 points a game.
Exactly.
So you mentioned the defense. It's incredible what this Texas Tech defense is doing. I mean, what stands out to you about this team and what they're doing this season?
I love that we don't have any. I might be biased because I went to Texas Tech, but we don't have any true weakness. I think that we can make a play on the offensive side, whether it's at the running back with the running back position, the receivers. Our receivers are loaded. The return unit, our special teams is absolutely loaded as well. And I mean, our defense speaks for itself. Well, I don't even have to say anything about our defense, but I mean, you got Morton back there, which is I believe he's a stud, definitely an NFL quarterback in the near future. But man, the team and what Coach McGuire is doing with this team is lights out, and I just want to take my hat off to him and just I'm proud of the organization and what we're doing right now.
You know, Cliff Kingsbury obviously was a quarterback at Texas Tech and was the head coach there for a few years, and has an incredible offense that now he's running with the Washington Commanders. When you watch Tech this year, do you see like air raid Cliff Kingsbury stuff at all? And what separates Cliff Kingsbury's offense from some of the other offenses you might have been in?
The no huddle, the fast pace, basically getting the defense gassed. And so I do see it, some splashes of it in Texas Tech, but it's not as quick, not as fast paced as it was when I was there. Like we would no huddle all day, and just trying to get the defense gas and trying to run as many plays that we can possibly can in a game. And so I think that's the difference between the offense that Texas Tech runs today and when Coach King was there is that fast paced no huddle offense and the air raid offense. But I believe that they still do that, but just at a slower pace. I'm talking about. It was times where I was tapping my helmet like, "Hey, coach, I'm gassed." He like, "No." Like we running a 2-minute drill like the full game. That's how it was with Coach King.
Wow.
Jakeem Grant, former Texas Tech wide receiver, is with us. He was at Tech for 4 years. And Jakeem, when I look at your track record, man, it's super impressive because you played a little bit as a freshman, but every year you were at Tech, your production and your numbers got better and better. And you were there for 4 years. Well, this Texas Tech team has been built a lot through the portal. I'm just curious your thoughts on the transfer era, and do you think you personally, would you have had the same amount of individual success had you not stayed at Tech and had you been a transfer guy?
The portal is kind of shaky because it's like it's almost like it's almost being an NFL player. It's like them following the money or anything of that nature. It's almost like loyalty. It's like all these guys getting a 4-year scholarship and then they don't even stay for 4 years. They go transfer to another school that's offering more money. It's kind of like the NFL. But me personally, if I was in the portal, doing those things, I think I would personally want to stay at a school for my remainder of the course because I want to leave a legacy at that school. And so when I first got to Tech, I was where they revamped it, but the locker room, I walked in the locker room, they had the whole Hall of Fame, and they had Michael Crabtree up there, Wes Welker, Danny Amendola. They had all these guys up there. And I was talking to Zane, which is the equipment guy. I was like, y'all get ready to make room for me because I promise you, like, I'm going to break that record. And then he was like, "Hey, those are pretty big shoes to fill. There's a lot of guys that came in before you that didn't even break it." And I was like, "It's okay. They're not me, though. I'm going to break it." And so that's my whole thing about it. Like, I would definitely, if in the transfer portal, I would like the way I would stay 4 years at a school because I feel like the legacy is better than, chasing the money.
Yeah, I mean, loyalty is lost in many respects. And, I mean, like, you're a Texas Tech fan. You're talking about we.
Right.
I mean, with all due respect to Romello Hyde, who's having a great year, and maybe he becomes a Texas Tech fan, like, he's played for 4 or 5 schools now. So, like, those guys leave, and are they fans of the team in the way that somebody that goes to that school plays that school for 4 or 5 years is? Probably not.
Yeah. And it's like I said, the college level now is basically like the NFL, and it's like it's even shorter actually. And guys just play, and the next thing you know, they get a different offer and they're out. And so like it's like, where's the loyalty? You have a great year here at Texas Tech, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh, you're getting bids or whatever from other organizations, different colleges, and then you're like, nah, I'm out. And it's like, dang, like now Texas Tech has lost, a star receiver due to another team offering more money. And then let's say that you go there and then you don't have the same production that you did at Texas Tech. And so it's a gamble. And so
totally. Great point.
Jakeem, why is it that so many Texas Tech former players, alumni, you mentioned that you're still close with Patrick Mahomes. You guys are all Texas Tech fans.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about Lubbock? What is it about Texas Tech that has led to that? Because I think that's really unique about Texas Tech is all you guys have moved on and done a lot of other things, and Mahomes has won Super Bowls and all that, yet you guys are still huge Texas Tech fans, which is super cool to see.
I think I take my hat off to Kirby Holcutt, the AD there, and Will Culpepper and all those guys that fall under that umbrella. They get alumni guys, the former players guys, to come back and just welcome us back with open arms and just bring us all together. From throwing like little golfing events and things of that nature, and just athletes from every sport that's played at Texas Tech. We all come together and we just reminisce about the good times and the times that they played and those things, and we build a great relationship and a great bond. And then I think that when we all come back, we share that that red and black, that red rate of pride, and I think that builds us together, and so I think that what those guys do with their they're wanting their alumni and all their former athletes to be involved in the program is outstanding.
Talking with Jakeem Grant, former Texas Tech wide receiver, career receiving yards leader at Texas Tech, and on our interview here, your screen name is No Speed Limit Grant.
Yeah.
Okay, so who do you think wins in a foot race? You against Ari, but here's the deal. You've got to go 40 yards, and Ari only has to go 20.
I'll still get them by the start.
Totally.
I'll still get them by the start.
By the way, did you call it a screen name?
Yeah, Zoom name, screen name, handle, whatever.
I mean, tell me you're old without not telling me you're old. A screen
it's like
name?
AOL Instant Messenger,
Yeah,
right up in here. All right, your Zoom chat name, whatever. Either way, Ari's slow and you're really fast.
Handle.
Ari's slow, you're fast.
Well, I mean, who would win in a foot race between 40 yards you had to run and 10 yards that James had to run?
I got you there. I got him there.
He's like, I can't really see this guy. I don't really know what he looks like or how fast, but I'd beat him easily. Like, of course he would. This dude had a 97-yard kick return for touchdown in the NFL. Like, yes, he's faster than me.
Mm-hmm.
But how much faster is the question? All right, last one for me. You and Mahomes are close. Do you have like one play or one moment where you realized, he's
different.
This guy's he's a different guy.
When I played?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know his NFL career didn't plan out like it. Or he had a good long career in the CFL, which Pete Robinson. Man, when I tell you, the guy could have easily went out I think our junior year at Texas Tech, but he chose to stay and graduate, and I think his draft stock kind of fell. You know how that works, and I think he was leading the college, the nation in sacks and tackles our junior year, and I was just like, man, this dude different. Like, and I remember him when we just went up to watch them play BYU. And I was talking to him. I was like, bro, you should have went out your junior year. He was like, nah, man, I had to graduate and get my degree. And then plus, you didn't want me to go out. I remember you very, very verbatim saying, bro, don't leave me. Like, and I did tell him, I was like, nah, don't leave me, bro. You can't leave me by myself. And so me and him was really close, especially with him growing up in East Texas. Our whole family grew up in East Texas. Same with Pat's family, grew up in East Texas. And so, it was just, I just think the guy was a stud. I think he's, I know that sometimes, the college career doesn't transition to the NFL career, but man, I think he was just above his time.
Yeah, well said.
That's awesome.
Jakeem Grant, former Texas Tech wide receiver, the all-time leading receiver in Texas Tech history. There's a lot of big-time names on that list, and Jakeem Grant is the top of all of them. Jakeem, thanks for your time, man. Appreciate you very much, and wreck 'em.
Oh, man, Wreck 'em Tech, man. You know it. No problem, man. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Thanks, Jakeem.
Jakeem Grant, kind enough to join us here on Big 12 Radio, repping Texas Tech. And, yeah, I mean, it's a great point by him in terms of, like, you know, he wanted to go to Texas Tech, and he said, you know, he could see the great names on that list, and he said, I'm going to beat them all. And he did, but it was just, like, the aspiration to do that. Like, I want to go there. I want to grow up. And look, I mean, he was extremely fortunate to play with one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the game. I think it's fair to say that about Mahomes at this point. And an offensive genius. So, like, obviously fortuitous for him as a wide receiver, but, you know, he couldn't have seen that happening when his career started at Texas Tech, and to stick around and, like, see that develop and see, hey, you know, so many guys would be like, it's about me. I got to leave so I can get more. And, you know, he just slowly over time had more catches each season, and then it blew up his last year when the team was, you know, one of the best offenses in college football.
And he was still, like, every year he was there, he was very productive. I mean, to play in that offense with Mahomes and Cliff Kingsbury, and Jakeem Grant is lightning fast. Like, he's only 5'7", okay? He's 5'7", 5'8", and he's quick and twitchy, and he had a knack for getting open. And now he's a trivia question in the best way. I mean, who is the all-time leading receiver at Texas Tech? It's Jakeem Grant, and caught 65 passes as a sophomore, 67 as a junior, then 90 as a senior. And he's a great story of a guy that spent 4 years at the same school for a team that didn't win a Big 12 championship. They went to a bowl game his senior year, and he stuck it out and played in one of the best. Like, I don't think we'll ever see that again. I don't think we'll ever see an offense score 50 or 60 points a game, but also have a defense that gives up 50 or 60 points. And that point he made about, man, if we were playing for with a defense like this year's Texas Tech, we would have scored 80 points a game. I mean, they were doing this in the limited time that they were on the field because the opponent's offense was always on the field scoring points.
It was unreal watching those games.
It's just amazing.
It was unreal to watch those games. And, I mean, the crazy part is that's all the reason why Mahomes was underrated in that draft. Like, if they have – you said they were 125th out of 128 in defense?
Defense, in scoring defense that year.
If they were 60th –
they would have won a national championship.
Mahomes would have been the first overall pick.
Yeah.
Certainly Mitchell Trubisky would not have been the second overall pick.
Oof.
It's good. That's fine. The Bears have Caleb Williams. It's fine.
I mean, that was just such an era that at the time I took for granted because I thought that we would see it forever. And college football has shifted where that is truly a 5, maybe 10-year window where teams were scoring at levels that I don't know that we'll ever see again. I mean, Patrick Mahomes threw for 5,000 yards his last year there. 421 yards a game. That's a full 100 yards more than any quarterback in the country this year. Like, these 50 to 60 type games, it was like a NASCAR race. It was football on speed. And I don't know that, like I said, I just don't know that the sport will ever get back to that because I think since we've had it, since we've seen it, defenses now know how to adjust for it, and the game is slowed down in a lot of different ways, kind of to like it was before.
I mean, yes, but also, like, the NFL still hasn't figured out how to slow down Patrick Mahomes either, you know? Like, there was definitely some basketball on grass part of that, but, like, when we talked earlier this week about, you know, there's just not the high-level NFL quarterback talent right now in the last couple of years, you know, is that the norm or is that just an anomaly? I mean, I think, like, Mahomes is an anomaly, you know? Like,
right.
5,000 yards in a season? I mean, maybe we'll never see that again, but maybe that has nothing to do with anything other than, like, it's Patrick freaking Mahomes.
Right.
And, you know, more NFL evaluators should have been like, hey, you know, maybe he is as good. Like, maybe these aren't skewed because Cliff Kingsbury has a crazy offense that goes really fast. Like, maybe he just really is that good.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that hurt him in the draft was just that he was
Oh, yeah.
playing in a system where other quarterbacks before him had done the same thing. And so nobody could figure out the difference between a B.J. Simmons, who had 5,000 yards, and a Patrick Mahomes. And it was just the perfect culmination of really talented quarterback, really up-tempo, no-huddle system, and that was a special time, not just for Texas Tech, but also like all of college football. I mean, Baylor was scoring a ton of points. TCU was scoring a ton of points back then. And if you didn't score 40 or 45 points a game, you were left behind. in college football. And, yeah, we might get back to some of those higher scoring games, but I just think it's going to look different than it was back then because that was the birth of the air raid. And a lot of teams are still running the air raid, but they're not scoring 40 or 50 points a game. That was so unique for that wave of the sport.
Yeah. All right. And women's basketball tonight in the Big 12. SMU visiting Texas Tech, who's off to a 3-0 start. Also, South Dakota, Kansas State, Omaha, BYU, Arizona State, San Diego. We talked earlier about Audie Crooks going for 43 points on 23 shots in 20 minutes. A ridiculous line for Audie Crooks, who right now is playing like the player of the year in women's basketball. And tomorrow, tickets for the 2026 Phillips 66 Big 12 Women's Basketball Tournament go on sale. That would be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central. So if you want to have access, all access tickets, the premium postseason event returns to the Kansas City's T-Mobile Center for the third consecutive season, featuring all 16 Big 12 women's basketball programs competing for the conference's postseason title and automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. The tournament begins March 4th, championship game for Sunday, March 8th. And if BYU does advance to that final, it will be moved to March 9th on a Monday. But, yeah, tickets available starting tomorrow for the 2026 Phillips 66 Big 12 Women's Basketball Tournament. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. With James Blessing, I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, and heard on TuneIn while being watched on Big 12 Studios.
Here's a handoff, and running off the left side, this Shaheem White slides to the 5. He's in the end zone.
It's Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Along with James Wesley, I'm Ari Tebkin. We are presented by Modelo.
Yeah, I had a big day yesterday.
Okay.
Outside of a 4-hour ESPN college basketball production meeting.
Only 4, huh?
Only 4. It's just a light casual meeting.
What do you do during a 4-hour meeting other than pay attention for 4 straight hours without doing anything else?
Well, I would say my attention pain was probably above average.
50%?
Yeah, I go 75%. But it's one of those meetings where the camera's off and you just kind of carry the phone around. But it was long, but informative. It's one of very few meetings where I actually felt like, okay, I need to be here. I need to absorb this information. So it was good.
That's true. Based on your attendance at tune-in meetings. There's quite a threshold.
My attendance or my camera on, camera off ratio, because there's a very big difference.
There was once a mandatory